Hello, hello, hello. I just want to take a moment as we get started today to acknowledge this particular graphic that you all are looking at right now. This particular graphic has been around with me for years. And it's kind of the reason why you may see uh, the 9 step guru all over the place. You may see hashtag 9 step guru or call myself by that particular name, the 9 step guru, is because this was literally my first training manual that I created maybe 25 years ago. The 9 steps to professional relationship mastery, the ladder to professional success. I was so excited when I completed this first writing. And of course, I've updated it several times throughout the year. We might be working on like the 6th generation of that training manual. But the whole goal and the purpose for it was to help people understand the things that I learned and the lessons that I learned and the research that I've done about professional relationship development and why it's so important. And as today's topic sort of warms up, I want to remind you that without an understanding of the things that are important to human development and human connection and the neuroscience behind how the brain works and how people think, knowing what we're going to talk about today, which is relationship intelligence, is kind of useless because knowledge without the understanding of how to apply that knowledge doesn't get you very far. It may mean, for yourself, you may know, yes, intellectually, I'm bright, I'm brilliant, I have lots of information, I can recite, chapter and verse of any particular book or topic that I think is relevant and important. And I'm not suggesting that that is not critical. I am suggesting, though, as a coach, um, my job is to help people with their performance. My job is to help people with their behavior. And what I've had to learn to do to help people take the steps they have to take to move forward on any initiative has been significant over the last few years. And it's so important. And when I say the last few years, I mean the last 20 years. you know, it's so vital to our human endeavors and our success that we cannot short shrift it. So let's get right into the topic for the day. Today, we're going to be talking about relationship intelligence and why that's critical. And the topic that we're going to be working with today, I love a lot because I think that when you are going to present something and you're going to present something in a way that's important for other people, I think you got to make it strong. You got to make it exciting. You have to make sure that it's relevant. And I don't think at any time in our business development world that this topic has been less than critical for all people to understand. And so if I could find it here, I'd be really excited to share with you the topic for today. Here it is. Okay, so today's topic is Beyond the Proposal, the 7 relationship intelligence secrets that accelerate every pursuit. Again, let me share with you again. Beyond the Proposal, the 7 relationship intelligence secrets that accelerate every pursuit. So we're going to be talking about Maybe we won't get through all of this week, but we're going to be talking about the three core capabilities of relationship intelligence. We're going to be talking about the four practical behaviors to practice now. We're going to be talking about the three relationship rituals and drills that you must have in your calendar. We're going to talk about the six relationship cues that you can read when you're in a room with everyone to understand how to act and what to do with the cues that you're receiving back from other people. We're going to be talking about the five metrics to measure relationship health, and so that how to decide, am I in the kind of professional relationship that's good for me, or am I in the kind of professional relationship that is somehow toxic to me and I don't even see it. I need to learn how to read that and really understand that. And then we're going to be talking about the four common traps and how to avoid them when it comes to professional relationships. And then in number seven, the last, we're going to talk about the six quick checklist items for every account interaction. Okay, so I hope that you're ready, because I am ready. I am ready to take this conversation to the next level. I am ready to help move the needle in terms of where we can go and how we should go next. And I'm hoping that you're ready to roll with me, because this is the most significant effort to the whole business development platform that we're sharing with you right now. Um, is you got to know, what is relationship intelligence? You got to know how to use relationship intelligence. So I'm going to take my time going through this next module. If it means that I've got to go long, then we're going to go long. If it means I've got to answer questions along the way, then we're going to answer questions along the way. No matter what, it is important to me and it is vital to me that you get this information. I don't care where you are in the business development world. You could be a trainer, you could be a consultant, you could be a charitable giving expert, you could be a financial advisor, you could be anywhere where you have to work with a complex strategy or structure in order to move the needle, in order to move something forward. You are going to want to understand and learn this information. So let's get into it. Well, before we do that, let's take care of some rules, right? I know a lot of you all enjoy this program and you have been watching this program faithfully for years. And I do understand how difficult it is to pull away, a small amount of time at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday afternoon. I do understand that, but I'm so appreciative of those of you who take the time to come and focus on this, pen in hand, ready to write, ready to take notes, ready to engage, ready to ask questions, ready to be in this with me. However, I do understand that some of you all won't watch this until later on. You'll watch it on Facebook, you'll watch it on YouTube, you'll watch it on LinkedIn, and the links to all those things are on my pages for all those things. So you're going to see this. You might be actually be watching it live right now on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, or even what's the other thing? Not TikTok. We broadcast to I can't remember now. But anyway, we already broadcasting this far and wide live, but we're also making it available for you on demand. If you are watching this on demand, don't feel like you cannot participate in the chat. All right. So please post your questions in the chat, post your comments in the chat. More importantly, if you have a business of any type, and you are doing something with your business, you are have a promotion going on, or you have an event coming up, or you have something that you want us to pay attention to, a book that you've developed, please, please, please put that information in the chat. I want this to be an interactive format for entrepreneurs and business leaders, no matter where and when they watch. All right. So the more you engage in that chat, the more that people will feel comfortable also doing so. In fact, right now, if you're watching us from a different part of wherever you're watching us from, go ahead and put the information in the chat where you're watching us from, whether you're watching us from, somewhere in the States or somewhere outside of the States, just share that information and let's see what we can do to give you a shout out and to let everybody know who you are and where you're coming from. And again, if you've got something that's going on with your business and you want to share that, feel free, go ahead and share that information in the chat with anyone, with any way you want to. If you have a question about anything related to business development, whether it's going back to future or to former episodes that we've talked about, or you reaching forward and you want to know what's coming up next, put it in the chat. And if you need to have a personal and private conversation, that's why my number's flashing across the screen right now. I may not answer you directly because I don't try to answer numbers that I don't think are strange, but do me a favor, leave a message. Let me know that you saw Coffee to You and Me and you heard it here and blah, blah, blah. As you can tell, everything's empty. My shelves are empty. My walls are empty because we just went through a whole house renovation and that's still going on, by the way. So if you hear some background noise, it may be some things going on. We had the whole house painted and new floors put in, and it's a whole lot of activity happening in the powerhouse. I try to preserve my office and make it as pristine, and my little studio and make it as pristine as it possibly can. But hey, things have to growth means it's going to be going to be some growing pains, right? Okay, so let's get right into the topic today. The first part of today's episode we got to talk about is relationship intelligence. What is relationship intelligence? What relationship intelligence is it is emotional intelligence applied to commercial outcomes. It's the practiced ability to read people, group dynamics, build multi-level relationships, and sustain trust across a long sales and delivery cycle. Let me share that with you again so that you lock it in, right? It is literally the practice and ability to read people and group dynamics. It's building multi-level relationships. It's sustaining trust along a long sales cycle, right? These three keys are important for you to be able to understand and do if you're going to master the secrets of business development. So, business development work, it moves faster and lasts longer if you do this right. So, what do we hope to accomplish in our topic, in our talk today? There are a couple things. We're going to share with you all seven of the secrets. And we've already given you sort of a list and a breakdown of all the secrets. We might not be able to get to all seven of the secrets today. We may have to stretch this into one, maybe even two episodes, because this is vital information for you to understand. But no matter what we do today, tomorrow, or next week, or whatever it is we get around to the next strategy sessions or the next series of this particular subset of the larger business development training program, you're going to leave with a comprehensive, practical understanding of relationship intelligence, all of its applications to do business development, and practical tools that you could use right now. So hang in there with me. All right. And again, ask questions along the way. Ask them and put them in the chat. Write them down for yourself so that you remember to ask them, later on to someone else. If you put them in the chat, we'll have an opportunity to have some group discussion around it. If not, then you can go look it up. I say put the same questions in your chat GBT or any other AI model that you're using to help you grow. It's all important stuff. So the next question we're going to delve into is this one: Why relationship intelligence? Why it's important to all business development professionals, and what benefits can business development professionals expect from mastering it? You have to master relationship intelligence. Why? Because business development is fundamentally a human game. It is characterized by long sales cycles, multiple stakeholders, shifting priorities, and high stakes decisions. Deals don't move because of proposals, they move because of people. And I know a lot of you are out there grant writers, and a lot of you are out there proposal writers, and a lot of you are in that part of the business development cycle. But I will tell you, nothing moves a deal forward faster, better, stronger than people. It's not going to be the document. It's not going to be the deal. It's not going to be, whatever grant that you put together or responding to RFPs and all that kind of stuff. It's not going to be that. It's going to be the people and the relationship intelligence of the people that move this forward. I'm talking about business development. So business development professionals who master relationship intelligence can do a couple things, right? And this is clear, right? You have to be able to read the room and understand all of the power dynamics that are in any room that you find yourself in. And the faster you can do that, the faster you can read the room, the faster you understand all of the subtleties in terms of power and who has it and who doesn't and how they share it is super important skill when it comes to business development. The second thing a business development expert has to be able to do is they have to be able to build trust across every level of every organization, not just with one champion. I like some people will have a referral source inside of an organization and they will just beat that referral source to death. And that referral source may have certain abilities and certain power, but they don't have always the decision authority. And so you have to really, really build trust and learn how to build relationships inside of an organization or um, a group or any place else so that you don't get stuck with one key relationship and that person either leaves the organization or moves on and there's no follow through. Now that person's gone because you got to start from square one, you know. um I love relationships. Relationships are portable, meaning you could take them with you, but transactions are not. So if you've done 1,000 transactions, that really doesn't matter in your next, environment or your next association. You can't even leverage those because you didn't build a relationship. You didn't have enough trust to do that. So that's a whole different conversation that we might get into in a future episode. But it's important for business development people to learn how to build trust across the levels. The third thing you got to do, and this is bolded in my training manual I have, by the way, all my clients have the training manual. And if you don't, if you want it, make sure you get the business development training manual. Ask me for it and I'll get it to you. Put it in the chat that you want it, or put it and DM me that you want it somewhere that you're watching this already, and I'll make sure you get it. I won't charge you a dime. I would like to ask though, if you do get it and you do read it, I love your feedback. All right, so we were talking about number three. Number three is navigate conflict, misalignment, and politics with calm precision. Let me read that again. If you're going to be a business development professional, you have got to learn how to navigate conflict. You've got to learn how to deal with the misalignment of priorities, and you have to learn how to deal with the politics. All of this with the calm and cool, kind and friendly manner that people are going to want to continue to talk to you, want to continue to work with you. The last step, the fourth step that a business professional who has mastered relationship intelligence can always do is they can sustain momentum even when the external forces on a macro level disrupt everything. Hopefully, we'll get into a little detail about that in the training. We're able to get to that today. If not, we'll get to it another time. So, in short, when you're talking about business development, what are you talking about? You're talking about the long game. And it's important that you understand that trust and your ability to spread trust across different aspects and parts of an organization, it compounds like interest. So it gets stronger and stronger and stronger the deeper and deeper and deeper you go. You may start off with small transactions and small relationships that grow and grow and grow into bigger relationships and bigger transactions. And so you might find yourself, if you're in a business development opportunity, you may find yourself doing multiple different transactions in the same organization, even for different departments, because you've done so well at establishing trust and establishing relationship over the long haul. So what is required? Relationship intelligence. Relationship intelligence and your ability to do those things is how you earn the trust and how you stay in the game for the long term and how you do it at a high level so that you are literally driving the engine of your organization, the capabilities that you need to have to move everything forward. So there are three core capabilities of relationship intelligence. Number one, you got to learn how to read the room. Number two, you have to learn how to build and maintain multiple level relationships. Number two. Number three, you have to maintain long cycle trust. Read the room, build and maintain multiple relationships, and maintain long cycle trust. Let's break it down. Reading the room. What do you think happens when you first enter a room, or you sit down at a table, or you begin to interact and relate to other people, in terms of the emotion and the processes that everyone is all simultaneously engaged in? You see, people will give you the signals. And the signals can be a part of their body language. They could be a part of what they say. It could be who they're talking to. It could be a myriad of different cues that you should pay attention to appropriately and accurately read any room that you're in. But there are four dimensions that every emotional cue, every relationship cue, every communication cue fall into. Do you know what those four dimensions are? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. One, power. Two, interest. Three, emotion. And four, alignment. These four dimensions, power, interest, emotion, and alignment, each of these cues tell you where the deal really stands. Whatever deal you're working with, whether you're just getting started or you're advancing along, and you're just about to close that deal. So if you're in a room, or you're in a boardroom, or you're in a meeting room, or you're in a networking function, and like everybody is leaning towards you, you're closer. You're as close as you need to be to land that deal. But if you are sort of the stranger in the room and nobody's really talking to you, nobody's really asking you questions, nobody's really interacting with you, because you haven't really been introduced and they don't know who you are yet, then you're a long way from closing the big deal. You got a lot of little deals that you got to close, and a lot of little relationships that you got to build in order to get to that last and final push to make whatever relationship happen, or whatever organization or deal you're trying to close to actually happen. So you got to know how to read the room, and you got to know the four dimensions. That's number one, core capability of relationship intelligence. The second capability of relationship intelligence is this one. You'll have to build and maintain multiple level relationships. If you don't have a system that helps you map engaged users, influencers, and decision makers so that everyone feels meaningful and recognized, then you got to go back to start from square one. You got to have a system. You have to have a system that helps you understand, know, and then lay it out in a sequence, or in a visual way, so you understand who are my core users of the thing that I'm trying to engage people with, and help them understand who are the influencers that can help drive the next decision that has to be made in the development process, or in the discovery process, or somewhere along the lines of strategy towards closing that deal. And then finally, who are the decision makers? Where does the buck stop in terms of, you know, who has to finally make the decision? You see, all these people are important, whether you are looking at a referral source, or you're looking at investors, or you're looking at donors, or you're looking at stakeholders of any type. Everybody is important, and they're all vital to the ultimate decision. So what am I saying subtly? What I'm telling you is they all have to fall in love with you. Your ability to build multiple level relationships is the key. If you can't do this, which means you don't have the emotional bandwidth, or under too much pressure, or you don't have the right tools and techniques and strategy at your fingertips. You don't have the right CRM systems to really kind of plot out and measure a lot of things that you have to plot out and measure. You're going to have a problem. The third core capability of all relationship intelligence is this: you must be able to maintain what we call long cycle trust. Long cycle trust helps you to create specific, reliable trust that survives long term political, economic, social, technological, legal, and finally environmental macro level issues, right? I know you might have been in it. This is, by the way, for those of you who don't know this, this is the PESTLE model. PESTLE is political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental. So if you're going to study something, you're going to give it a SWOT analysis, or you're going to analyze the likelihood of something happening or not happening. If you don't look at all five of these things at the macro level, and you're only thinking about the micro level, what's happening in this quarter, then you might find yourself kind of off track, and you might find yourself wavering without an understanding of those macro level things, and they could shock or accelerate future collaboration. So you want to make sure that if it's accelerating the future collaboration, you know how to handle it. You have a system to handle it, that if things are moving faster than you predicted, right? Or if it shocks the collaborative effort, you also know how to handle that. Because if it's a political issue, you have a solution. If it's an economic issue, you have a solution. If it's a social issue, you have a solution, and so on and so forth. If you do not think about that pestle agree that pestle things, I promise you, something long term that you're not paying attention to is going to be the thing that derails your deals. And I'm not talking about just the one deal. I'm talking about future deals. All right. So it's super important. Three things again: read the room, build and maintain multiple level relationships inside of any organization or structure that you're playing with. And three, maintain long cycle trust, which means you're in the game for the long term. You're not in the game for the short term. If you cannot afford to be in the game long term, then you're not a true business development professional. And I hope that doesn't offend anybody, but you got to have the resources in order to be able to wait for the big deals, the big complex deals, and you don't have the resources, and you got a suspense date, or some kind of date that's in front of you that you got to perform in. That's not really business development. It might be sales, but it's not really business development. Business development is something that you have to have, and you have to be able to create relationships in it, and it actually creates more opportunities than you might have in the back of your mind. Because yeah, we'll talk about that later. Maybe we'll talk about it later. But I got to get through some of this today, so I want to make sure I leave room for questions and leave some opportunity for some power thoughts that you guys may have. So the next area I want to cover, these are the four practical behaviors that you can put in practice right now. Now, like all behaviors, you can't just jump in there and just do it. You can't just do a Nike thing and just do it. You really do have to think through how you're going to do it, and you really have to do all the things that you need to do to make the new behavior useful and practical and practical for you. So let me quickly just go over the four behaviors so that you kind of got those in your mind. So behavior number one: scanning for emotional cues in every meeting that you have with every person, always. You got to get good at that. That's number one. Number two: personalized recognition across every level. You have to be intimate with every person at every level of the decision making process in every organization and group that you do it. And I don't mean intimate in a weird and freaky way. I mean intimate in a close way, so that they're happy and friendly, and they're happy to see you, happy to talk to you, happy to relate, happy to get your email, your text message, whatever it is. You need to have that environment where you have that level of connection. Number three: set and meet micro commitments. All right. You got to be able, this is all about expectation management. And again, we'll get into it in a couple seconds. And the last part of that, number four, is practice purposeful compassion. I'm going to say this again. If you are trying to do fake compassion, which means that old building rapport as soon as you walk in the room kind of thing, where you're just doing the cheesy thing, like, I like that picture on your wall, tell me more about that, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's a good conversation starter, but it's not deep enough to be meaningful, right? you really do have to practice some purposeful compassion. And again, we'll get into that in a couple seconds. Let's go back to scanning the four cues for every meeting. There are four cues in every meeting you're going to go to, and you're going to have to deal with power, interest, emotion, and alignment. Power, interest, emotion, and alignment. Power, interest, emotion, and alignment. Keep saying that to yourself because that's what you're looking for every time you walk into a room, every time you meet a new person or even an old person. It doesn't matter where they are in the relationship continuum for you. Always want to know power, interest, emotion, and alignment. PIEA, right? Power. Who controls the resources or approvals? If you're talking with a person who has no control over resources or approval of any level to get to the next level of whatever you're trying to get to when it comes to the final deal. You're talking to someone who has no power. It doesn't mean that they are relevant and you should disconnect with them. It just means they don't have the power to move the needle here. You can be talking to people who have interest but no power. What do I mean by that? People who benefit if your overall strategy succeeds. There are all kinds of beneficiaries for a deal that might go one way or the other. And if people don't see a good reason to benefit for what you're proposing or what you're potentially proposing, they don't see a benefit for them, then it's kind of hard for them to reasonably feel like whatever you're talking about is meaningful. And so you have to be practiced at not just scanning the cues for who's in charge and who makes the decisions, but you have to scan those cues for who might be interested because that person may be able to introduce you to someone who actually has power, right? And so you have to be able to understand what their interest might be before you even walk in the room if you're good. We'll get into that just a second. Um, the third cue that you have to be cognizant of is emotion. What's going on emotion wise in a room? What feelings are there kind of floating around that you can notice and you can see? Who's happy? Who's sad? Who's engaged? Who is asking questions? Who is really, really connecting to whatever's going on in the room? And what's driving those decisions? Because you're going to find that people who are connected emotionally tend to have the ability to have the emotional intelligence to be able to, you know, clearly handle and deal with whatever it is that you want to talk about, you might want to share, you might want to introduce, and they can help you and are probably more willing to help you than someone who is off in the corner, kind of sitting by themselves, not really connecting with anybody, probably regretting that they're even there, especially in a networking setting. They may only be there because somebody told them they had to or should, but they don't really understand or have a reason why they're going to show up in the first place. And I know a lot of people will use that as a strategy because, they want to talk to the loners. They think those people are somehow more interesting or whatever. And I get that, that could be a technique and could be a style. However, when you're dealing with people who don't have the emotional bandwidth to engage for whatever reason, it might be they have a level of neurodiversity or whatever that is. They probably don't have what it takes to then leverage something, time, talent, or treasure on your behalf, which means it's going to be more difficult for you to get them to actually introduce you to their boss or their boss's boss or somebody in their organization who actually is a decision maker, who actually has the ability to say yes or no to a potential proposal. you know um, and that's okay. There are all kinds of people who work for organizations and work with the companies organizations, and their job is so narrowly focused, and they don't really need colleagues, and they really don't use them well anyway, even if they had them. So, these are the people who are going to help you, or be able to help you right away without a lot of training and a lot of, back and forth, and really helping them, kind of learn how to do the smaller things that you may or may not have time for. And so be very careful and be very specific about who you spend your time with, because they may or may not have the emotional intelligence needed to even be an ally for you. I hope you guys understand what I'm talking about. The fourth cue you have to look for, and this I think is the most important cue, is alignment. Who's aligned and who's misaligned with your stated goal or objective. Note that the dominant cue here, um, whatever you're doing, is about adjusting your next question and asking that question accordingly. All of these cues are all about helping you to understand what question that you should ask next. Now, that's just the first step, scanning for cues in terms of behaviors that you really have to know well if you're going to be excellent at business development, right? The third step that you have to understand if you're going to be excellent at business development, or the second step, I'm sorry, I don't know why I go to number three automatically. The second step of practical behaviors that you have to know and practice now is you have to practice personalize, personalizing recognition across every level of any organization. This means you got to do your homework. You got to know who the receptionist is. You got to know who the executive secretary is. You got to know all the department and the division heads that you may bump into along your sojourn into the decision makers, right? If you're working with the board of directors level, and you're talking to the secretary, or your messages are and everything is getting stalled at the executive secretary level, you're at the wrong person. You're talking to the wrong people. Who's the chairman of the board? Who is the secretary for the board? If that's a level you need to be working at, that's the level of decisions you need to have, and decision making that you need to be building relationship with. Then don't start at literally the people who are unloading packages in the truck, or loading packages on the truck for the company to be moved out. That's not, you're not starting in the mailroom. If that's where you got to start, because that's the only leverage you have into an organization, it's going to be a long time before you get to a point where you can actually meet with the decision makers. And that's even at the departmental level, right? If you are trying to do a deal with the chief of the mailroom, the chief of the mailroom may not have power, they may not have interest, they may not have the right emotion, they may not be aligned. So you're looking for the people, you're looking to scan the cues that makes sense. So you got to do your homework, and you got to take your time. So what kind of homework might you do? By all means, check out the social media pages of people in the organization and people that need to make the decisions that move you up the chain to the max, to the most important decision makers that there are. And I would start with them, right? And then move down in terms of your research and your homework, right? Because you're going to want to try to figure out what level of power they have, what level of interest they have, what level of emotion they have, and what level of alignment they have, as much as you can from third party information, right? Things that are easy for you to grab. Now, if you don't have social media connections, or if you have social media connections, that's the place where you're going to start first. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to then look at who those connections are. After you've read their profiles, after you've checked out where they went to school, after you figured out what they're interested in, or you think about, what their family connections might be, and all that kind of stuff. Now you're gonna go deeper and find out. And I love this on LinkedIn, because with LinkedIn you can go, well, who do I know who already knows them? Now, if you're an open networker, this is not going to work, because if you haven't selectively put together your network, then the people that you know who knows people that you're trying to get to know, they don't really know you. And so it's very hard for you to leverage those people for referrals or a testimonial or a leg in. I would go to people who have already shown an active interest in you, meaning they're reading your posts, meaning they're paying attention to what you're doing, they're engaging with you in a way that would suggest that they're interested in you and what you have to say about certain things. And hopefully you're posting and sharing and thinking about things that make sense for the direction that you're trying to grow in. And if you have any questions about that, go ahead and ask them. Put them in the chat so they'll know what we're talking about, right? And I know who you are. And I got to get some background information before I really can go too much deeper into that subject. But in doing your homework, you've got to be able to identify all those. Remember all those four cues. You're looking for those cues, whether they're written or whether you saw somebody in a video or you saw somebody in a room, a networking function, or they were at a chamber meeting or wherever you saw them. You know, these are going to be the clear understanding and ideas that you might want to key in on in terms of how you ask your questions. And you want to take your time because your discovery questions are going to be built often on the cues that you've already noticed. Again, be willing to do your homework, be willing and ready to take your time before you make the step of assuming something is going to be interesting or something's going to be aligned or people are going to feel you, they're going to understand where you're coming from, or you're talking to the right people and they have no power. Before you make all those assumptions, you're going to want to go through whatever it is that your discovery process is with those people so that you can be clear about what they are entitled, what they're able to do for you, what they're able to do with you, what they're interested in doing for you or with you, and their connection emotionally to you, what that is and what that isn't. And you're looking for the alignment, right? So again, PIEA, PIEA, power, interest, emotion, alignment. That's number two. It's going to help you with recognizing people appropriately. If you don't do that first scan for cues right, you can't do second personal recognition. You can't show up for the stakeholder, the referral source, the investor, the donor as an individual. You can only assume a superficial or unreasonable posture with them. And that means you're making a lot of assumptions. So a couple of things you have to be sure to do in this recognition piece, right? You have to be able to um, name a recent contribution that they may have made that you may have noticed that you are impressed with, right? If they haven't done anything that you recognize that you can say, attaboy, way to go. I can't believe you did this thing. This was amazing. Then you're going to have a long way to go to then start to build a rapport, a true rapport that's authentic. I talked about that earlier, right? The second thing you got to be able to do in personalizing your recognition of them is you have to reference a constraint that they face that you know that they face. Okay. This is not about small talk at this point. This is about big talk because when people are in a crisis or they're dealing with something that's a struggle or they're dealing with something that is cumbersome or difficult for them, man, and you know it and you allow them the platform to be able to discuss it, to talk about it, to hear from them, to truly listen to them. Remember, that's step one in the 9-step process. To truly listen to them and the constraints that they have, you had them at hello. They are going to love you, not because you said anything, because you opened the door and you asked the right questions. Remember, he who asks the questions is the most powerful person in any conversation. And you don't want your questions to be an interrogation, but you do want your questions to be a discovery. I want to say that word again. It's got to be a discovery, not just of what you want and what you feel, but what they feel and what they want. So the more you can do that well and learn how to ask those kinds of questions, again, if you have questions about that, put it in the chat and we'll talk about it. We'll maybe do a whole training around that. The third thing you got to do in your doing your homework, right, and you're just before you're not making an offer of anything. You're still in homework mode. You're still gathering all the resources and all the information, everything you need to have. You got to figure out what it is, that one question that signals to the person you're talking to that you have their value perspective, or that you value their perspective. One of the most golden things that I think is important that you should always remember in conversation is to be willing to ask. I see that this is important to you. Would you mind telling me why? Or I understand that this is important to you, and repeat back whatever it is you thought they said that was valuable or interesting. And then go back and say, well, how did you come up with that idea? Where did this come from? What's the source of this thought process or this idea for you? And you'll find that if they're willing to share that, again, they're willing to be intimate because they're going back to the source of a feeling or a thought or an idea or something that they're willing now to share with you. And if it's great news, you're going to recognize them for it, right? Because this is all about recognition, right? But if it's horrible news, then you actually want to empathize, and make sure that understand. You have to understand how, that is in fact a terrible thing, and that you came through it, is something to be, excited about, because you're here today to talk about it. A lot of people aren't. you know so it's, again, recognizing the strength, the courage, the resilience, and the gift of a stick to itness, or whatever it is that they have. That's super important, because when a person feels understood, they're much more willing to try and understand you back. And I talked about this before, so those of you who have heard this, you can shut your ears off. But for those of you who haven't, think about this. Every investment you make in another person is an investment that you are now allowing them to make back in you. So before you give it, you have to be willing to, before you receive it, you have to be willing to give it. And you have to be willing to give first and give well. So that's contribution, right? You're looking for other people's contributions, but you're also looking for how you can contribute in a way that's meaningful. The last thing I'm going to mention here is a step that I've created, and you can only find it here, and it's called the RAP approach. The RAP approach is a system I devised for people to understand, and it's an acronym for people to begin to um, show respect, affection, and praise for one another in a meaningful, powerful way. And if you don't have access to the RAP approach, or you haven't seen that training, then definitely get it from me. Definitely ask me for it. But it's all about respect, affection, and praise. And in the last few minutes, I think I can cover some of it. But in reality, if you haven't witnessed or noticed or understood that someone has done something powerful enough for you to then say, I adore and or honor you for this specific thing, you literally cannot respect them. There's no such thing as general respect. Respect is always specific. You need to know that, so that you need to look for things in people to respect them for. And you need to see it and witness it when it has, and acknowledge it right then and there, as soon as you possibly can. Or I saw, even if you don't get to see them until a year later, to be able to say, this is the moment when you earned my respect. And this is how it looked like for me. And this is what I've been able to do as a result of it. This is really, truly important. Let's talk about affection for a minute. Affection gets a bad rap, especially in the workplace, because we're so scared to be open and honest with one another. We're so scared to be vulnerable with one another that we choose not to. And what that does is it creates a distance, a social distance, an emotional distance. And it's very difficult, especially if you're in business development, for you to close that gap. Once you have got that distance gap, then it's hard for people to develop the kind of trust necessary for them to go above and beyond the call of duty for you, because they know you're kind of shut off. You're not really ready, willing, or ready to engage with them at a level that's important for them to engage in. And so you have to be willing to let down some of the guards, the stranger danger, all the stuff that we've been taught all of our lives. You have to really be willing and vulnerable and let some of that down in order for people to see you and for you to see other people and be seen by them. It's critically important. The last thing is praise, right? Praise is all about adoration. It is all about encouragement and engaging people in a way that they see that they are meaningful to you. If you're not good at that, get good at it. Read the rap approach. And if you don't have it, ask me for it. I'll make sure you get it. Okay, I'm going to close out right here. And remember where we stopped was the personalized recognitions across every level, right? This is the four practical behaviors to practice now. And we're going to pick this up next week and we're going to keep rolling. We got a long way to go. So this may take, now that I'm in it, I'm seeing it may take maybe 3 or 4 Fridays in order to get through it. But that's okay. I'm going to hang in there with you and I want you to hang in there with me. And we're going to get through all of this because it is critical that you understand, no matter what, how relationship intelligence makes your business development opportunities work or not work. Right. And then what do you need to do to fix it where it's broken? Because you won't even recognize it if you don't have relationship intelligence, right? So super important stuff. I look forward to talking to you later. This is Coffee to You and Me. This is Coach Powell. I'm going to sign off. Thank you all so much for paying attention. For as long as I was able to keep your attention, I really appreciate you. I'm glad you came through. And if you have any questions, comments, or thoughts, again, put it in the chat. If I can't get back to you, maybe somebody else who's listening and watching in one of the channels that you're listening and watching from will engage with you and talk to you about it. Don't keep it all bottled up. Don't keep it to yourself. Don't try to be a hero. Share. Super, super important. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Had a great meeting, and we are out of here.